What a bully! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. It's Rory now. On the outside, decent.
Barnes! He's got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly. Finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper!
Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that!
Only by Paul Patella. Off for a hat-trick.
He's got it! Hat-trick for Nathan Teller! Oh, he's on fire at the minute! 3-0 Burnley! It's Nathan Teller's day! And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby!
Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Comes have a shot.
Oh, what a goal! Manuel Benson once more! That is top class! Burnley have done it! Fantastic! Clarence deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Hello everyone and welcome along to the latest episode of TurfCast podcast here on the TurfCast podcast YouTube channel and of course on the TurfCast podcast. Obviously, Real Betis last night, a draw for the Clarets on a god-awful pitch, but another decent performance, which is good to see. Of course, those of you that were in the space last night will be more than aware that I didn't watch it because I was at work. But luckily for you guys, we do have two people who did watch it coming in. One who did a watch-along and one who watched it for us and then hosted a space for us. So we'll get them guys in just a second. But before we do get started, I just want to show you some packages that I've had delivered. Some retro Burnley shirts. This one is a classic. You might see me wearing this quite a lot. This one's like a 1920s style Burnley shirt. Probably more for my dad, that one, to be honest. That one, I do like that one, though. That one's nice, but it doesn't have any Burnley stuff on it. But it's the best one that Toffs do that looks Burnley-ish, in my opinion. But that's nice. That's very nice. And that one as well. I do like that one, but it's a different, sort of like a darker claret. I think that's more 1920s as well. But I do like them. If you do want to get your hands on them, just head to the Toffs website. We are doing a partnership with Toffs at the minute. You can get 15% off, I think it is with Toffs. I'll just double check that. But if you use the code TurfCast15, then you will get 15% off some of the tops. I'm just showing you them on the screen now. They can be a bit expensive. But this is why we partnered up with them to bring you some savings. This one, I think, is probably the best one, apart from that white one, and that one's a little bit cheaper. So I'm terrible at maths, but 15% off 48, it's better than nothing. And this one's probably the best one. That's the cheapest one as well. So you can get that one. And obviously, the deal doesn't just run to Burnley. I got myself a Barcelona shirt as well. Because I kind of like Barcelona. I'm not going to get another English team, am I? And the England ones could have been better, in my opinion. But I really like. There's 3 Burnley ones there that I really like. 2 that I really like. The white one and the one with BFC on it. But yeah, just use the code TurfCast15 to get 15% off. I'll put it on socials and give a closer look to the shirts for you on there as well. Might even be a little bit cringe and do an unboxing, but I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to do that yet. I need some bigger cojones, I think, to do something like that. But anyway, let's get on with the game. Big shout out to Toss for letting us do that, for sending the stuff over. You will see me wearing them on the shows in the coming weeks and months. But let's talk about the game. And as I mentioned, I didn't watch it. I was at work. And that's not my fault, everybody. That's Burnley Football Club's fault for scheduling a friendly and not telling us until about 3 weeks ago. Couldn't get the time off work. So let's bring in Nathan. He watched it and he hosted a space last night. Sorry, Nathan, didn't give you enough warning there. How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm all good, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, really good. Thank you, mate. And you may have watched his watch along. It's Dan from Turf Morehouse. Nearly called you Daniel there. Is Daniel all right?
Mate, anything other than expletives, it's a bonus.
Fair enough. Here's Sophie from Turf Morehouse. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right, thank you, Joe.
You didn't need to do that, mate.
No, I didn't really. I didn't have to go all Joe Pasquale, did I?
No. First comment in of the day about the match. Sorry, Chris, I know you commented first, but you did simply put up the claret, so there's not really much I can do with that. But Mark, Nathan's changing cameras. Look at this.
Oh, look at that. What a setup.
Didn't have me set up right, did I? Give me a
Mate,
double check.
I've got it on my laptop. Easy. We use different setup, different cameras. Oh dear, he put me to shame. Anyway, Mark Higson, morning, Mark. How you doing, mate? He says, morning, lads. Thought we played well last night against tough opposition. Let's just say, I presume that's meant to say, an interesting playing surface. Yeah, weren't the best playing surface, were it, Nathan? Probably a good thing that Manuel Benson didn't play on it with his injuries. But I'm surprised we didn't pick an injury up last night. I mean, who knows? We could have done and not know about it because we don't seem to know much about Cullen or Benson at the minute. But yeah, not a great pitch, were it?
No, the pitch weren't the best. It looked like leg sapping. It started chewing up, didn't it, for most, the back end of the game. And yeah, I do worry that there's a few sort of like maybe a little muscular injuries. Maybe this morning, I think the lads might be a bit stiffer on the joints. And but yeah, it was a good test. I think it's a kind of a good fitness test, and it playing on a leg draining pitch. You can sort of run a little bit harder and get them extra minutes in. So hopefully it works in our favours. But yeah, just thankful there were no sort of twisted knees or rolled ankles on that pitch. It were chopping up quite badly, that.
Yeah, Matthew Corbett says, I didn't watch the game last night. How did we play? Dan, well, you watched it all, didn't you? How did we play? It sounded like we played well from the bits that I've seen.
Yeah, really, really well. I think, to be fair, we still had that attacking intent. Shout out to Betis, who did really well on the press. Didn't let us really play our game to its full maximum potential. And there were a few mistakes from both sides, but you are going to get that in pre-season friendlies. It's just, getting them legs going again. Like Nate said there, the pitch was just absolutely shocking, dreadful. But massive respect to Burnley as well. You've gone to, you're flying around all these different countries. You're flying pretty much the day before a game. And you've got to think as well, we were in 28 degrees heat yesterday. I think half of the players had sweat on the back of the shirts, when the referee blew his whistle for the start of the first half. So it's clearly, was very humid out there as well. But a solid game for Burnley as well, especially on the back of the win against Benfica.
Yeah, two good results, isn't it, Nathan? We beat the Portuguese champions and we've drawn against a team that finished sixth in La Liga last season. Good sounds.
Yeah, good start. Like I say, I'm not even that bothered about the Genk result because, Genk were sort of a few weeks ahead of us in their pre-season, so we had probably an extra sort of 20 minutes in the tank over us. But yeah, a nice little win over Benfica. Played well, I thought. They had a decent team. They had some experienced heads in there, and yeah, last night, happy with that point. Really, Betis aren't any
point.
You are
point. Happy with that point. It's a point on the ball.
Going into season mode already. Happy with that point. I'll take that point in pre-season tournament. They're no chumps, are they? They're no dog and duck side. They had some good players on there and some experienced players that will probably get to it, but lost their head. But no, happy with that. To be fair, good run out, and yeah, it's just positive results. I'm glad we're not going into these games and getting pumped. If we are losing them, it's by reasonable score lines, and we're not coming to pre-season on a 3-0, 4-0. So yeah, it's all good at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one to normally take too much notice of results, but they're very good results. Mickey Pollard says, Nathan, turn your mic up. I just thought it was my speakers. Maybe your mic is quite low, but Nathan's mic is usually very loud. Turn it up. So be careful if we are turning it up. You probably break everyone's speakers. Yeah. Oscar Mason BFC says, where is Redmond? I'm here, mate. That's all I've got to say to that. We don't know where he is. Chris P looked like three at the back yesterday, and Resurge as well has also mentioned that. So we played well considering we played a CB and RB at CDM. So yeah, the formation and players playing in different positions. Dan, Connor Roberts had a little bit in CDM and stuff like that, didn't he? And some other players playing in some interesting positions. What did you make of the players that were playing out of position or being tried in new positions?
When I saw the team sheet and realised we played, put three centre backs in with, O'Shea, DeKill and Bayer. At first I thought, tweak a tactic. We're not used to seeing that. We're used to just solid 4-4-2 and grit and determination. But, over the last year, we've come to accept that change is needed. And it's not, it's a perfect time to start, trying to tweak things, for when the game's adapting, the league's adapting. So it was interesting to see the three at the back. Connor Roberts in CDM was sort of, I don't know, it was almost like a free roll for Roberts as well, because we saw at the back end of last season how he sort of just, escaped from that right-hand side, came a bit more central, did a bit of a Wade Elliott of old, just instead of staying on the right, wandered into the middle. But the thing is, not a lot of people expect Roberts to do that. And it linked up play pretty well. But yeah, Roberts did help out quite a bit in the centre of the pack. I thought he was actually pretty good. And I was just about to say something like a John Stones role. So Chris pretty much hit the nail on the head with that. But this is the perfect time to experiment. And for me, it paid off. It paid off. It goes to show that we're not just. We have got numbers in certain areas, but we've also got players that are quite versatile to fit in if we are short.
Yeah, so obviously I didn't watch the game, as I've mentioned, so I'll just pick both of your brains with this now. So I presume it was three centre-backs with wing-backs? Is that how it was working? So with someone in the comments there, Terry 1958, says we played no left-back. So who played on the left side? Was it Vinny?
Charlie Taylor,
okay. And where was Vinny then, on the right side? Or did Vinny even play? I'm sure Vitinho played.
Yeah, Vitinho played right wing back. It started with Connor Roberts at right wing back.
And then he moved in the middle.
No, Vitinho started on the left, I think. Vitinho started on the left and Connor Roberts started on the right wing back.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But then, like I say, I think it was at half time. Or the sending off, to be honest, probably changed the outlook of the game and the tweak of tactic. But
It was stupid that it killed any sort of formational preparation
you
could have got there, because how can you set up your team that you want to set up? Like, he immediately had to bring off Amdouni, didn't he, really, to adjust his formation to... Yeah. It just, I'm still a bit annoyed. I'm annoyed that it happened and, Gudmundsson shouldn't have kicked out, the other lad shouldn't have, kicked off, but this ref should have just said, get them off, get two more back on, and we'll keep 11 on the pitch, because that's what this is for. It's not like it's not like a pre-season tournament, is it? It's just a dead rubber, get some minutes in the tank. Pellegrini's doing company a favour.
Yeah.
We'll have a friendly. That's all it was, and it killed it. So we sort of lost a game to prep there. But
I see what you mean. And go on. Sorry, I was going to say, I see what you mean, and it is frustrating. And it probably would have been better if just one of our lads had been sent off and not both, because there's going to be scenarios like that in the season. So you're going to have to learn to adapt. So that side of it is good.
Yeah.
They came up to a real life scenario and thought, well, we're going to have to adapt here and see what's going to work. But it's very rare that you get two players sent off at the same time, just like we did in the friendly. I know people appointed Blackpool last season as well, but that weren't at the same time, actually, I don't think, was it? No, it weren't. So it's going to be it's scenarios where we're going to have to adapt. There was a lot of talk on the hashtags about Foster. Simon Harvey says here in the chat, good morning, boys. Great performance last night. So happy to see Foster playing very well. Mega excited with Coley Oshaw signing after seeing him last night. Nathan, what do you think of Foster?
I thought Foster he played well in the last few games, to be honest, but last night sort of felt like his, I won't say coming of age, but like he felt like he was the player that we'd bought, that was the player that we'd scouted, we'd looked at, and we'd seen on the show reels. That's the player that we wanted, aggressive, pinning defenders, running behind, good on the ball. Even though he scored, didn't he? But he was offside. It was a good finish. So I'm excited to see him develop. Like I said on the space last night, we brought him in January. We probably expected too much too soon from him. Like, he's not had any pre-season. He's not had time to settle in a brand new country. I know he had visa problems. So it's probably a lot. Imagine starting a new job, just going to your office with all them problems in background. New country, new people, new visa. So it's going to take him time to settle. And now he's settled, he's going to have a pre-season under company, and I think you starting to see him flourish now. So, I mean, he's one to watch for next season now. I think he's gone from being sort of in the background in obscurity to now I'm looking for him now and watching what he's going to be doing and how he's going to be playing a bit more. Yeah,
fair enough. Dan, your thoughts on Foster then? Because a lot of people said on the space last night that, not that you run it, but just to let you know that, that the Premier League might suit him a bit more, because he might get a bit more time. Like, he will get pressed, obviously, but there tends to be a little bit more time on the ball sometimes in the Premier League. And even though there is this label of the Premier League being this big, bad physical league. It's just not that anymore. So I think it could suit him more. What do you think, Foster, in the Premier League? Do you think he'll suit it more, or do you think he'll be a little bit out of his depth?
Yeah, and I think I've said it a few times to Burnley fans as well, that when we signed Ashley Barnes all them years ago in the Championship, he didn't look sort of like this goal scorer that we had over the Premier League years. But when we got to the Premier League, he just shone. And, if we can get that from Lyle Foster, then, we've got another one that's sort of come through and done good upon promotion. Like I say, the Benfica game, this game yesterday, he were just phenomenal. He didn't stop at all. He chased every single loose ball. He came back into the midfield, and for an attacker, usually they're not known for the tackling prowess. It's a case of just getting on that final ball and putting it away. The fact he came back, his tackling was on point. He was stopping them from trying to counter-attack from corners, etc. He was all over the park. He was a bit like a George Boyd yesterday. He was just literally everywhere trying to run around and get to those loose balls. But he did brilliant. And at the moment, I'm sure he'll be changing a lot of Burnley fans' perspectives on a striking option.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Sorry, I'll just say I do agree with that. But I just know that some fans will be like, strikers score goals, but it's a bit more.
Yeah.
Like it does seem like that we'll still get most of the goals from the wing, but it's more his work rate that he's going to be in the team for, especially the Facebook dads. I mean, I'm a Facebook dad before anyone complains, but there's a lot of that type that will just, he's not scoring enough bloody goals, but he's doing good work, I think. Anyway, sorry, Nathan, I did put in then.
I noticed that he was starting the press as well. He was the first trigger on the press. I noticed that from like minute one of the game that he broke the line and started pressing, and then other lads joined in straight away. So that's just as important for the way we play. We're going to have to play football next year because we're going to have to try our best to pin these teams in and get the ball back off as quick as possible, and then get back to doing what we're good at, which is keeping hold of the ball now, which is playing with the ball, passing it around, moving it. So we're going to be up against teams that are going to be more comfortable with the ball at the feet. So we're going to have to get that pressing game like on point to win that ball back early. And I thought Foster did that really well. If that's the role that he's been given, then I think he's going to do that really, really well, because in the last 3 games, I've seen that from him. He's aggressive, he's hungry, he's determined. So yeah, I'm pleased with him. I think I'm happy for him as well, because he seems like a right nice kid, nice lad as well. So
yeah, I mean, he had some depression issues, according to a report that he did with the South African radio, that nobody really picked up on over here. Like, a few people mentioned it, but it was there. Harry says it looks really quick and strong, hard to get off the ball. Then Prem defences will struggle against him next year. Chris P says Foster and Twine has got some partnership going, but Siu says Benson, I'm doing it, and that's the best front three for me. I'm not that keen on Foster just yet. I've had a just yet in there for you, mate, but time will tell. Bob says a little off topic, but any news on season tickets being sent out? Are they being sent out, or are we just using the season card that we got last season?
I think if you've bought a new one, then obviously it's being sent out. Like mine's an upgrade. So I've not had I'm back on the season ticket now for the first time, so I've had to have a new one. But
okay, have you got yours yet?
I've not had mine yet. No, I'm still waiting for mine.
Well, there you go.
I know, like, people already have it. It's just getting loaded straight on. So.
Yeah, well, I've already got a season ticket. It'll just be loaded onto my card then, I presume. But Bob, if you've already got a card, then yeah, not to worry. I want to go back to this one though from Chris. He does say Foster and Twine has got another partnership going. Nathan, did they link up well last night, them two?
It looked to be, yeah. Like it did to me look a bit like Twine just sort of wanted to get hold of the ball and then quickly give it to Foster as soon as possible. He sort of like that. Again, I say this probably a lot today, but we said this last night on the space that he didn't want to really take a man on. It looked like he was just happy to get the ball turned and just give it to Foster. But which is fine if that's what he's been told to do. Then that's fine. That's his job. But I'd probably like to see him probably take the scruff of the gates, like let Foster run around, let him make space and open up space for Twine and let Twine take the lead. But there is something building there. There is something, bubbling. But like I said, that you can put, at the minute we can put probably 12 different partnerships up together, up in that front line, and they're going to be different every time. So it is interesting to see. And like I said, the lads going out there are just going to have to just let company watch them and say, pick me sort of thing. I'm going to do what I need to do to get chosen. So it's exciting to have that competition.
No, yeah, I agree. Sue says, I think Twine will be quality, just needs to hit the gym and get stronger. Claret One says, I think Twine just needs a bit more aggression. Now, we did talk about this on the space last night. It was quite interesting to hear from Liam Vizzy Waddington that he thinks that that we shouldn't really be starting with him just yet in the Prem. But then Nathan, not the Nathan on your screen now, another Nathan, apologies, I don't know his last name, so that said he's quality and he's going to be very, very, very good.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dan? Do you think Twine will be starting in the Prem, or do you think he needs to get a bit stronger and stuff like that?
I'd say he needs a bit more strength in him. I think opposition fans will look at him as a sort of weakness, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful manner. I mean, footballers, in the tunnel, it's a case of head forward, just get on with the game. But in that dressing room, they'll be like, "Oh, target the posh boy." It'll be a case of that. I hope not, and I hope Twine will, literally go, be my guest, target me all you want, as long as I'm still bringing others into play while you're focused on me. But to answer your question without skirting around it, no, I think he's probably comes on from the bench, gives us that injection of pace and trying to get more attacking if needed towards the latter stages of a game. You on mute, Joe?
I think you've gone. You might.
Sorry, there was someone at the door, so I muted it. Nathan, your thoughts on Twine? Then I know you mentioned it on the space, but for those who weren't there.
Yeah, he got himself into a lot of good positions. He finds them gaps really well in between the lines. The midfield and the defensive line. He finds them really, really well, which is good to see. But I feel like at times as well, he doesn't know what to do. He knows what to do, but I feel like he just can't make his mind up what to do with the ball. Like he doesn't seem to. Oh, there you go. First comment straight in. I feel like he doesn't know what to do with the ball, even though he does know what to do with it. He just can't seem to get it done quicker. You know what I mean? It's hard to work out. And I think, like we said last night, he's got the God-given talent, this kid. He's genuinely got an amazing talent at football. His dead ball's amazing. His feet's good. He's got a decent footballing brain. He just needs to sharpen up, I think. And I'm hoping that he might get thrown in the deep end in the Premier League. Maybe try him in that City game. Maybe try him, because these first couple of games are a free hit to sort of mess about and find out what we need. There's a tough games in there. Throw him in there, and it might just, click something in his head that unlocks that sort of last 10% in his game that then really steps him on a bit. I think that's what'll help him. I think he just needs something to slap him out of it. If he turns and faces that first game and he's got, Laporte and Rodri and whoever gunning him down, it might just sharpen him up a little bit and make him be more decisive with his passes.
Yeah, no, I do agree. There's definitely a really, really, really good player in there. I just feel like he loses the ball too much, and that goes back to what you were saying and what Theo said on screen there. That it just sometimes he just takes too long, or he just gets muscled off the ball. He needs to get on leg press for me and the bench press, that sort of thing, and just become stronger. He's clearly probably one of the best passers we've got in the side. He's the best set piece taker we've got in the side. Just need him in there with just a bit more strength, or maybe like you said, bring him on later on. I think you said it, Dan, when the game's opened up a little and there's more space, because then he's not going to get crowded out as much. It'd be a good one to bring on when the opposition's down to 10 men, but how often is that going to be? Maybe tired legs and stuff like that. But I like Twine. I do agree though that he gets caught in possession a bit much, and he's probably not strong enough. Any news on Benson and Cullen? Excuse me, there's nothing mentioned from the club. We've not heard anything, have we? Because the club haven't put anything out. I have asked a couple of people, but I think either people aren't telling it us or nobody knows, which is interesting. As soon as I find something out, I'll let everyone know. But if anyone's heard anything in the comments, let us know. It's obvious injuries. I think it's pretty safe to say. I'm not even sure. Is Cullen even there? Has Cullen even gone with them?
It's worrying me that it's like radio silent on Cullen, because he's for me, he's our centre pin. He's our middle pointer. I always said it last season: no Cullen, no party, and I'm sort of worried why he's not in the team and he's not around.
He played against Genk, didn't he?
Say that again, sorry.
I think Cullen played against Genk, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but it's just vanished now, and he's just vanished into thin air after that. So I'm not panicking a little bit, but when Benson, I feel like they just protect Benson because he's our match winner, isn't he? They
he's
obviously
clearly
know
injury prone.
they know to manage his minutes.
Like, he's clearly injury prone. Research says here
Yeah.
Benson is fine. He's been in training. Yeah, he has been in
Yeah.
training. He's been in pitches. But if he were fine, he'd be playing.
He's not 100%, is he?
Yeah, he's obviously not 100%. He's got a knock. It's one of them. He is quite injury prone. There were so many times last season. Actually, having said that, someone asked me the other day. I did an interview for Live Score, and I said, "Oh, he's a bit injury prone." And he said, "Well, how many games did he play for you last season?" I checked. I think it was 33. And I'm like, "Wow, I'm shocked it's that much, to be fair." But yeah, that's still 15, 16 games missing off the top of my head. His injury proneness does worry me slightly. Because of how good he is. But it's Cullen, I think I'm a bit worried about, because we're not even seeing him anymore at the minute. So Cullen will be a worry. But as Chris says, we 100% need a new defensive midfielder, but we needed one before any potential injuries to Cullen, didn't we? And
we did.
Yeah, it's a shame because I've not seen anything on this, Nathan. I know we've obviously been linked to players in the past, but even that's gone quiet now. The Hamer link has gone quiet. So it's a strange one, isn't it? But it could be one of them where it just comes out of nowhere. We've got a signature.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. It's sort of the Amdouni situation, that one day there's just that little flirting little emoji from the club, and then bang, there's a video out there, and there's a new centre midfielder brought in. And like I say, I'm seeing no links whatsoever really, other than the Hamer stuff. So I say we've both been doing a bit of sniffing around trying to get hold of information, but I can't seem to find any on a centre midfielder. And again, like I said last night, I'm not too concerned yet, because there's still a long time before the end of the transfer window, and we've got time to see other team. Like I say, the pre-season's happening. A lot of players are involved in a pre-season squad. When everyone comes back and gets into the normal routine, I think you'll find out who's going to be used from like the bigger Premier League teams and who's not featured in the other teams, and you'll see a lot more activity when the season actually starts, I think. But as far as links for centre midfielders, I just think Hamer's the one that's just gone quiet. But I'd like to have thought we could have got that done, to be honest. It looked like with Bobby Thomas going the other way, I thought that was pretty much a dead cert. But like I say, these can happen. They can be dragged out for 3 weeks and then just happen all of a sudden without a hint of warning. So that's what I'm relying on.
Yep, fair enough. Not Theo. I will mention that. Sorry, Theo. It says the Robinson. I thought it said Theo Robinson. Even on the DMs where we've been chatting for the last 2 weeks, I've always in my head called you Theo. Apologies for that. He says, I think they don't have money for a new CDM as well as a left back and a striker. So Al-Dakir will probably be the man. That won't be an horrendous shout, Al-Dakir in there. I think a few people, including Research, have DM'd me sort of saying they'd like to see him in that role. I think Nathan, you might have mentioned it. Dan, you think Al-Dakir will make a good CDM?
Yeah, definitely. I'd even say Bayer's in with a shout at that as well. Especially, with Dara O'Shea coming in. Bayer is one of them. It's sort of like, even in that CDM role, he would still be quite good at, trying to get forward, beat the midfield men like he does with his runs from defence. And like I say, if you'd have told me last season Dara O'Shea was wearing a Burnley shirt, I'd have thought he were, because he's just slotted in like he's been here for a while. So yeah, I think we've got decent cover at the back. So why not try and push one of the centre backs forward? And like I say, either Bayer or Al-Dakir for me would slot into that position perfectly.
Yeah, I don't personally think we need an out and out. We don't need that like Kante role or Makala. We don't need that player, because we sort of play like a false CDM as it is now. When we're out of possession, one of the wing backs tuck into that role, or even one of the centre halves step into that. So it's now. Yeah. Pep started doing it with Johnny Stones, didn't he? Like, he's created this new false CDM role now. You got the false nine and all this sort of crap. Whatever Pep does, people will follow. And obviously, Company is one of Pep's disciples, so he's going to pretty much follow him by the book. So I don't actually think we need an out-and-out CDM. I think what we've got will help, but I do think we definitely need another central midfield player just to keep Brownhill, Cullen, them likes players on their toes and raise the levels a little bit. But I think the CDM role, I think, is quite flexible, and players will step in, step out throughout the game.
So on that, Nathan, obviously, I think for me, the two main positions we need strengthening right now are CDM and left back. Would you prioritise a left back?
Yeah.
In that 100%. Scenario, because you're quite happy with the fluidity of the CDM.
Yeah. I would rather take a higher caliber left back that can play in that sort of false CDM role. You know what I mean? That can alternate between the two roles, because that's what he likes to do. If they're not bombing forward, one of them will tuck in and become that sort of third midfielder. So I'd rather take a higher caliber of a left back and put them in that position, and then rely on, like say we're sat on Charlie Taylor at the minute. That's our only left back. If I'm, and like I love the guy. He has been a really good servant to the club, and he suited Dash so well. He doesn't suit this system. I'm not going to bag him. He's a good player, and he'll do well for a lot of other teams, but he does not suit this system. He really doesn't, and it's a shame because I do really like him. I think he's a really good footballer, like a really top mid-level. He's a mid-table Premier League left back for me. Like a really good old school. He'll suit Everton to a T. He'll slot right in with Dash again. He'll slot right in with someone like that, or even like a West Ham. He'll slot right in and he'll do really well. But the way Company wants to play, I just don't think he's the way forward. I don't think he's got that technical footballing ability to do what's required of him to slot into other positions and cover other lads. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough. I think the club have been left a little short with Martson, to be honest, because I know they were pushing to try and get Martson, hoping that it wouldn't be in Poch's plans. But then it's looking like Poch said himself he's quite impressed with him. He's played well in pre-season, scored 2 against Wrexham. I know it's only Wrexham, but still. But then did a brilliant assist the other night against Chelsea, I think it was.
Yeah, he did.
Dan, are you quite worried about the left-back situation, or are you just quietly confident that we'll get it sorted?
No, I'm worried about the left back situation. I think Charlie Taylor had his arse handed to him yesterday quite a bit, even in the second half. To be fair, he had the right back running at him in Hector Bellerin when he came on second half, and we all know Hector Bellerin's got bags of pace, which is worrying. But I thought every time Betis came forward, Charlie Taylor looked like he was sort of struggling to either get back or keep up with the pace of the game itself, not just the way they were attacking. Nothing like Nair says, nothing against the bloke. He's been a fantastic servant, same as Barnes, Louts, and everybody else that have been here before. So, if he did go, he'd go with fans' well wishers. But then I'd still keep hold of him because of the principle of needing 2 left backs, really. Like I say, I know Vitinho's been quite versatile out wide, but for me, we need something a little bit more. Like I say, I don't know what name out there could come in. I'd take someone like Ryan Sessegnon at Spurs that hasn't really had much of a sniff or a chance. I know we're linked. I don't know whether we'll link or out like that. Kieran Tierney were one, but then obviously when Newcastle come sniffing, that's one that goes. So I don't know. It's an interesting position. We've always seemed to do well with left backs, from the days of like John Harley and things like that. I'm hoping we can have somebody else that could fit into that mold. More Kamara, yeah.
I have seen that Danny Rose is, he were on TalkSport for a couple of days last week, weren't he? And he's looking for a club now. I wonder if that's an option. He's sort of looking for a club to come and settle into and get back playing again. And I don't know. Would he be a good option, Danny Rose?
Mate, I'd take Roberto Carlos in his age now.
I seem to remember Danny Rose being a really good footballer, and I don't really know what's happened to him. Really, it's a shame because I think he were, with England, weren't he? And
we've got a Leeds fan in the chat. Just want to quickly boo him. Boo! No, I'm joking.
You weren't joking, Joe.
Afternoons, boys. I live in Leeds. I don't live in Leeds. I work in Leeds. So that's what I do when I walk around the White Rose Centre. I just boo 24/7. He says, "Afternoon, boys. I'm a Leeds fan, and we've been linked recently with Charlie Taylor. Do you think Charlie will do well for us in the 23-24 season if he joined us?" Probably yes. I think the champion would do very well in a top-end championship team. I still think he's got Premier League quality. I just feel like a lot of the Premier League teams, I got a bit of stick for saying this on Twitter for younger lads, but a lot of the Premier League teams have moved on and don't play in the same way that suits him. But if the Premier League still played in a certain way, like Everton, then I think it'd suit most Premier League teams. But I think a lot of Premier League teams now have moved on from the style that he's good at. And because of that, he would have to go into the Championship. So it would depend on what formation you plan on playing next season, to be honest with you, Rose. If you're going to play wing backs and stuff like that, then he's not your man. If you're playing 4-4-2, then he's your man. I know that there was a lot of controversy for the way he left Leeds, but I can promise you now that Charlie Taylor's never stopped looking out for Leeds' results and stuff. Like he's always had a fondness for Leeds, so I know he'd go back. It's just whether Leeds fans would accept him. But football fans are fickle. It's the same with Burnley and Weghorst. A lot of fans didn't want him back, but if he scored 2 against Man City, including myself, because I didn't want him back, we'd all love him again, and I'd love him again as well. Just needs
I don't think. I don't think that Charlie Taylor suit Farker. I think he does that whole gegenpress thing, doesn't he? He's one of he's that Klopp disciples, isn't he? That it's very front foot, very aggressive, and I don't think he'd suit. I mean, he's a hell of a player for Championship, by the way.
Yeah.
Like he did his job for us when he could. He also didn't do his job for us when he should have done. Like there were a couple of games where he gave me the willies.
Do you not find it a little bit strange though how in a dash system he was very attacking, going past the winger and trying to give us more scope out wide. But now that we are playing, very attacking football, he's almost just sat back. And it's
I think the problem is the fluidity of the formation. Without sounding harsh, I don't know if Charlie Taylor's got the brains for that. I think he sometimes gets lost again. That's why he's always caught out of position, because he's probably just wondering where he's meant to be.
Yeah.
I think it's that.
Some players are just born to play a certain way, aren't they? They're just naturally good at being what they're good at. Like it's hard. You not only do you have to be like an elite professional athlete to make it as a pro, you've got to be like a bit able to do different jobs within that role as well. Like if you're a top level banker, you don't end up becoming a HR manager, do you? If you're you know what I mean? Like you're asking players to not only be a left back, but now be an attacking winger. Sometimes be a centre midfielder, sometimes be a centre off. Like it's a lot to ask of these players, and sometimes some players are just good at being a left back. Like Leighton Baines for me, like he was just good at being a wing, a full back. Like that's just his job. I couldn't see him do anything else. He was just very good at doing that sort of thing. So some players fall in that category, don't he? And whether Charlie Taylor stays with us or goes somewhere else, like I wish him nothing but the best, because he seems like a very good, nice lad, and he works hard. That's the thing about him. Whatever you ask him to do, he'll work his arse off for you.
Yeah, I've scrolled up to get a comment I wanted to talk about earlier, because Brownhill gets a lot of stick off Burnley fans, and I'm not 100% sure why. I've never really understood why. Every time I put something out there on Twitter about Brownhill, like I get stick myself, so I think I'm in a minority here. But he says, what do people think on Brownhill? I don't think he's good enough, but also don't think he could leave because he's all right to say he's already here. Might get found out in the Premier League, though. I agree that the last time we were in the Prem, he probably wasn't great, but a lot of the lads weren't. But worth remembering that he was playing out of position. The last time we were in the Prem, he was asked to do a lot of DM work when he's more of an attacking midfielder. He gets stick last season, but if you look at the who scored and stuff like that, and Sofa score, he, in terms of, I know they do it differently, and it's all based on stats and stuff like that, but he was our best player according to all them. Obviously, I don't agree with that. I think obviously your likes of Zarori and Benson and Cullen were better, and Cullen deservedly won the Player of the Year award. But I think he gets a lot of stick. I think he's good in that attacking midfield role. I would personally have him starting against City. I don't see who else plays there. You've got Amdoune potentially, but he's not been here long enough. You've got Twine, but we've already discussed him. I think Brownhill's a better option than Twine in that position. Dan, your thoughts on that? I want to come to you first this time. Brownhill gets a lot of stick. What would you do? Would you keep him, let him leave, loan him out? Loan seems a bit silly. Ignore that part of the question. But what would you do with Brownhill?
Keep him. I don't see what the issue is with Josh Brownhill. To be honest, he's been asked to, when Company first came in, he was asked to get a bit more forward. Which, if anything, at that time when we had just gone down, was probably one of the main reasons why Brownhill stayed with us in the Championship, because we give him more freedom to get forward and play more of his game. Yeah. And like I say, we could have easily lost him to another, promoted side or, stable bottom half Premier League team. I think he's a very good midfielder. Going back to what we said about Charlie Taylor with having the brain for it, I think Brownhill does have that. It's just with Brownhill, it's moments more than, a full 90. So who knows? Who knows? Time will tell. But I think for me, Brownhill is not only better in that position than Twine, like you said, but he's also a captain. So he's also got another role to do. It's not just a case of I can get my head down and play the game. I've got to help orchestrate a team as well, and maybe that sometimes adds an added bit of pressure.
Yeah, that's it. With Brownhill, he's one of our last remaining sort of. I feel like he's a local lad. Like the way he speaks, the way he carries himself, the way he talks about the club, the way he interacts with, he did that. Whether it was a good bit of PR or whatever, but it worked. He went around to local businesses, showcased what they do, went to like the car wash, that he gets his car wash done, and like puts money back. That sort of stuff doesn't go unnoticed to me, and like I think he's more valuable than people think. Having someone like that understands the club, the town, and what it means to the fans helps so much within a dressing room situation as well, because you can bring these young foreign lads in that, quite frankly, probably couldn't even tell you. They probably couldn't put a pin on a map and get it within, about 2 inches of where Burnley are. You know what I mean? So having someone in that dressing room that gets the town, can translate it over to the other lads to understand what they're playing for. I think he's so vital, and it's hard to replace that. And there's a few lads that are left that have got that. Once we've lost them lads, it might look a whole lot different, that team. But for me, Brownhill's a star. Right? His running's good, his intensity's good, his game awareness is good, his passion's good. He ticks all the right boxes for me, and he's a good asset to have in Premier League.
Yeah, I just don't know who would play there instead of him, like that in that attacking midfield role. I know Mick said his work rate and ability to break up play is vital, but I'd have him further advanced, so he's not even breaking up play. I'd have him behind the strikers in like a front four, if you will, not a front four as such, but
You might actually see him getting a bit more freedom though. If Foster's going to be that player that's starting the press, breaking up the play, being a part of it up higher up the pitch, you might actually see Brownhill playing that number 10 role, breaking the lines, and actually you might see him getting more assists, getting more goals. Might add a bit more flair to his game that we've not seen for a while, because he signed under Daesh. He's played in the Daesh system. We've only really known him under the Daesh system, really, and he probably did get, like a lot of players do, they get sort of like held back, don't they, in a Daesh system. But now he might be allowed to flourish next season. So
yeah, fair enough. I agree. I like him. I know Mark said there, the comment on screen said he'd have Twine starting. I just think Twine needs... I like Twine, and I would have him starting there once he's just better and doesn't lose the ball as much. But some people would argue that Brownhill does lose the ball quite a lot. I've seen a comment on Andros. I'll try and find it. If I can't find it, then I am sorry. It was where's it gone now? See, you guys are amazing putting all the comments in, but at the same time, there's too many comments here now, lads. Come on. I can't find it. But the comment was, he's signing him. He was fantastic against Benfica. The short answer is yes, we are signing him. And the long answer is yes, we are signing him. He's going to be signing. He just is. Like, he wouldn't have been here this long and played in the game so many times, started one of the games if we weren't signing him. Some people might say, they would have done it already. I was told last week, I saw it on Up the Clarets, I think it was, that there were 2 medicals since then. Who we signed since then? Not Coley or Shaw. Who did we sign recently?
Lawson.
That's the one, Lawson. I believe Townsend is that other medical. Just putting 2 and 2 together, because Townsend is going to be starting. I think we'll announce it next week. Maybe even Monday.
Watching the last few games, he don't need a medical. He's fitter than all. He's fitter than that. He's got the best. It looks to me like the fittest out of everybody at the minute, which is fair, because he's had no game time. He's probably had a whole summer just to train and get himself sorted himself. But he's fitness.
I want to say he's injury prone, isn't it? He's also a little bit like Manuel Benson, where we are going to have to be very careful with playing time, how strenuous his training regime is, etc.
We don't know what Andros is going to come back, because he's had a long time out of playing football. That might actually have allowed his body to fully reset, to fully settle down. And he might have just got a few little, he's probably just give himself a little bit of a body MOT, and he get a few bits done that he's needed to do, recover, get reset, get signed with an half decent club, get a decent pre-season. He might come back, he might feel 5 years younger than he actually is. He also might feel 5 years older than he actually is. But for me, it looks like he's fitter than every other lad out there. So, yeah.
I see what you say. He's not injury prone as such. He is, but because of his last 18 months. Yeah. But before that, he was fine. I think that is the worry. I think you said it last night on the space, Nathan, or it could have been the other Nathan, that it's very low risk signing. Like, in terms of money, obviously it's nothing, so it's free. But in terms of wages, you would presume he'd be on not the most, but a decent amount. But obviously the risk is that his knee snaps again. But I think they'll have seen enough of him now to know that. Yeah. It's probably strong enough. Famous last words. He might have literally just snapped it as soon as I said that, like Joe Voodoo. But he's played in enough games now They'll have seen him in training enough. If that second medical was him, then they'll have done an assessment on his knee. They'll know how strong it is. They'll know how good it is. So I think he signs, and I think he signs next week. I think that's one of the signings we're bringing. Then hopefully a left back. But I do want to talk about Trafford as well, because Dan's a busy man. He's taking kids to Air Unlimited. So if you want to go and see a local celebrity, get down to Air Unlimited at around 1:00, and you'll see Dan. I'm not going anywhere today. I am not leaving this house. I've been working all week and I'm working tomorrow. But I want to talk about Trafford. Obviously, lobbed from the halfway line, just like Seaman was lobbed from the halfway line all them years ago in 2002. I've seen the goal. Yes, he should probably be more switched on, but I think Muric should be in that position as well.
Yeah, I'm not being funny.
It's not a massive mistake in my eyes. No. It's just good play as well from them.
You watch any keeper. There's only one keeper that I've ever seen. I watch keepers a lot. I used to be a goalkeeping coach. Blah blah blah. I used to play that position. There's only one goalkeeper I've ever seen that starts a kick-off on his goal line. That's Tom Eaton. But he does it out of purely an OCD thing. He stands on his line and he stands side on. As soon as the ball's kicked, he runs out to the 18-yard box. Like, that's all he does. No keeper starts on the goal line. Like, no, I have no idea why he's even tried that shot. Like, it's a friendly. Like, surely you'd just be better off playing to your centre-half, getting your passes, phases of the play. So, like, that's the point of the friendly. It's not about scoring. I just didn't get the shot. Like, I'm not going to bag Trafford one bit for that. I'm not bothered. It don't matter. Even if that happened in a game, it don't matter. They're a freak of nature. They happen every blue moon.
Well, it's good that it's happened now, because it is a freak of nature. They don't happen often, so it's good that it's happened now in a friendly. And that's, you say, like, you don't know why it's only friendly. That's why he's probably thought, okay, it's a friendly. It's only chance I'm not going to get to do this against Real Madrid opening day of the season or whoever they've got. So he's probably just thought, sorry. But
that crap happens. That crap happens on Sunday League, doesn't it? Where everyone's a bit half-cut still from that before, and one of the lads go, watch this, and they try and belt one in, and usually goes out for a throw-in. But Trafford backed it up throughout the game. His shot stopping was class and everything like that. So
that was my next question to Dan. But Mick has said here, Trafford has plenty of time. Just one of those things. That said, I still want Muric to be our main keeper until he loses his spot. We'll get onto that debate in a minute, Michael. But Daniel, your thoughts on Trafford yesterday? Because he might have conceded a bit of a freak goal, but I didn't see the rest of the game. But he played well according to some of the comments. Other than that,
I think, to be fair, it didn't really have that much to do. If anything, we were solid defensively as a unit. And apart from one or two saves that he got down to on his right, he were pretty much knew his angles when they were taking pop shots from the edge of the box. There's not much to say on him. You've got to think as well, he's a brand new player that's come in, and in terms of keeper's age, he's a baby. He's pretty much like a keeper that's just coming through an academy. At like the age of 8. Like we say, keepers don't hit the peak till late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s sometimes. For some, so there is still lots of time to nurture him. And my only issue is for a keeper like James Trafford, the price tag, etc., that we could have a similar situation to what we had when we had Pope, Heaton, and Hart. And we don't want it where it's a case of, well, I feel like I'm good enough for first team. I think that was part of the process when we signed Trafford, that he wanted a club that he could, flourish in and start. But at the moment, company won't take the no shit from no one. We know that. And on the showing from the Benfica game, I can understand why people were saying Muric, the showing of Muric last season. Got to think he's just walked in the building. This lad's going to need to build his confidence, get used to the team that he's playing with as well. And like I say, it's about confidence and fitting into a new system. And I'm sure that in time it will come good. But at the moment, Trafford probably cup games maybe, and then Muric during the season. I don't know. It's a very tough call for Vincent, to be honest, and I'm glad we as fans can sit here and say Muric, Trafford, and have that debate. It's company who's going to have the headache at the end of the day.
I don't even think it's that hard a decision. It's Muric all day long. Like this kid has come with a high ceiling. Like, he's got potential. He's got the value. It's Muric all day long. He brought us back to the Prem. He's a better goalkeeper as it stands as James Trafford, but Muric to me, will probably want to leave at the end of next season. You know what I mean? It seems like that's what he does. He plays a couple of seasons and he goes to the next place. Like, that's what he wants to do. So Trafford will be an investment down the line. He will get better and better and better as it goes on. It's not going to be this season. He might not reach his potential or half the potential next season, but maybe the season after that. You know, we have got a hell of a keeper on our hands with James Trafford. And him getting knockbacks, him sitting on the bench, him grafting hard, him coming and making maybe a mistake will only make him better. But we start the season with Muric. Like, he is even though he's not our number one on the shirt, he is our number one goalkeeper. He's the best goalkeeper in that school at the minute. So it's up for James Trafford to get his head down, get learning, you know, realise he's gone from League One to the Premier League overnight. Not many players get to do that. You know, he's got to get his head down and just prove himself day after day, and he'll get his chance. You know, the company will give chances to players. He did with Peacock Farrell. You know, he didn't stick with one keeper all season. In cup games, you pretty much get your chance. And, you know, Peacock Farrell did all right a few games. You know, he didn't make too much, didn't do too much wrong, really. So, yeah, for me, it's Muric starts. And like Ryan Mertens just popped in the comments there, Pope didn't get good until 29. You know what I mean? Like, that's 8 years away for James Trafford. That's a lot of football for him to play and learn. So, yeah, Team Muric for me at the start of the season. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, Dan, are you Muric or Trafford? Who are you starting with on Friday the 11th?
Muric, hands down.
Muric. Same for me, Muric. I like Trafford, and he's going to be a very, very good keeper, and hopefully he makes us 60 million quid on this buyback to Man City. I think the perfect scenario then, I think it was you that mentioned it, Nathan, is the Heaton Pope Hart thing, or it could have been you, Dan, I can't remember. It was one of you. It's the perfect scenario. Muric is our Heaton, and Trafford is currently the Pope, waiting in the wings, but when he comes in, he'll probably come in and have a higher ceiling and achieve more in the game, I think. I think that's a great analogy to put it on. But
we need to not forget though as well, quickly, Muric isn't no like middle-aged man yet, you know what I mean? He's only early 20s himself, so like we've got two young keepers at just different stages of the development. Like Muric is a few years on. Like Muric is not, you know, he's not been thrown up at Dog and Duck on Sunday League, has he? He's played at Man City's academy for quite a while. Like, he's learnt from the very best. Like, we've got two very, very good goalkeepers, and now with this other lad that's come in, you've got three solid goalkeepers there pushing each other in training. Yeah, it's a great problem to have. It's a really good,
and obviously
problem.
Frankie as well.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, we've got a solid. You know, goalkeepers are a different breed. You know, they help each other. They all obviously they want the number one shirt, but throughout the week they're not competing against each other. They help each other. Like, the standards of everything go up, whether it's serving the balls, crossing them in. You know, like, everything gets raised if you've got good quality keepers, and we're only going to benefit from that.
No, yeah, I agree with that. Like I said, the Heaton Pope situation, we were just, and then Hart as well. We just had some three very good goalkeepers in there. Hart was good. He just refused to come off his line, and that's what sometimes ruined him a little bit. But obviously Dan needs to shoot, so we'll wrap it up there. Before we do wrap it up, I'll quickly remind you all: 15% off at Toffs. There you go. Use the code TurfCast15. You can get some Toffs shirts, some old school shirts if that's your thing. Don't have to be Burnley. You can get an England one, a Barcelona one like I did, Madrid one, something like that. And we use the code TurfCast15. I'll put pictures of these shirts on socials. You can head to the website now. It's just toffs.co.uk. It's not, I'm live, toffs.com. And type in the code TurfCast15 at checkout and you'll get 15% off. But thank you, Nathan, for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan, for coming on. It's been a while, Daniel, since last season, but obviously the season's starting again now. Your channel, I don't think your channel ever really stops. Mine did for the summer. It's good to have you back on. Thank you, everybody, for commenting. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you have joined late, because the numbers always go up later on, then don't worry. The show, once I end this live, will stay on YouTube for you to watch at your leisure. If you're going to drive somewhere soon or you want to listen to it on Monday, then I'm going to put it up as a podcast pretty much straight away. But thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next time. I'm going to go and watch the cricket.